Oh, absolute banger. Hey, it's Will from EDM Tips. Today I'm going to show you how to make house music in the style of Disclosure, starting from a blank project all the way to a finished loop, including the music theory, including the sound design, sound selection, the arrangement and the processing as well. I'm using the stock plugins from within Ableton Live, but you can follow along in any DAW, and you can download this project completely free below this video too. Now, some of these other tutorials I've had liked and supported by the artists themselves, so if you do like this, do share it with Disclosure, tag them in, hopefully they watch it, hopefully they enjoy it. Okay, without further ado, let's hop into the DAW and get it done. So first I want to touch upon the vibe of Disclosure's music. Now, I've been following Disclosure for years. I've always loved their music, and there are a few things that I've worked out are distinctive in their style. So one is there's always a lovely, warm, organic analog feel to their music. Two, they've always got lush seventh chords, fact. Three, they've usually got some kind of swing applied to their music, so it's like off the grid, there's some real groove to it. I'm going to be doing this from scratch, so let's just see how it turns out, alright? And if you want to follow Disclosure and check out their stuff, there are some links below, and they've got a Discord channel as well. Cool, so first thing I'm going to do is get a kick. And I'm going to use a classic 909 kick. They have different styles of music, Disclosure, you know, more poppy stuff, more kind of breakbeaty stuff, but I'm going to go for a kind of warehouse, deep house vibe for this. So let's do it. Will's favorites, always keep favorites, guys. It just makes working so much faster. Let's get a 909 kick. I'm just going to tighten it up a bit. You can see it's a bit longer than where the open hat's going to be. So I'm just going to tighten it a tiny bit and then just duplicate it. Boom, 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 boom. You know it. All right, there we go. I'm going to turn that down 10 dB. Actually, I'll turn it down 12 dB just to make sure we've got no chance of clipping. I'm going to make this quite fast. I'll take it up to 129. Done, mate. Job done. You can download this. Buy it now from all good record stores. Okay, let's color that green, the natural color of the kick. And then let's get straight on to the next thing, which is building those drums. So we need some classic house drums as well, and we're going to use 909 samples predominantly. So how am I going to do that? I've got one actually up here in my favorites, this dance clap. That's actually from a 909 drum machine, so let's use that. Why is that there? Let's just drag it in. I'm going to use drum rack, and I'm going to show you how in a sec. Let's get those claps in really quickly. Every other kick, just like that. Duplicate, duplicate, duplicate. What the hell's that? Get out. Taxi. There we go. Let's try that again, shall we? It's not a gabba track. Cool. Right, I'm going to get rid of some of that reverb on there, and the way I'm going to do that is just turn down the release, maybe turn down the sustain too. Turn up the release a little bit, just to tighten up that drum sound. Now this is why I use drum rack. I'll show you this really quickly. I've got an auxiliary channel here with a room reverb on it. And I'm going to feed in just a little bit of this clap to that room reverb. The way you do that in Ableton is you click this routing button here, this R button there, and then you can right click, create return chain, and then you can select from this drop down one of your global auxiliary channels. So I've chosen the room there. Don't worry about the delay, probably won't use that. Then we can close that up, and now we can just feed in a bit of that clap to the room reverb. Let's tighten this up a bit. Cool, okay, onto the hats now. We're going to get like a shuffly loop, and the way we're going to do that is build it from some closed hats. Now I'm going to use, okay, you got the 909 hat. I'm going to go for an 808 actually in this, so let's go to, yep, and we'll get an open hat from the 808 as well, which is used a lot in trap music, but also in house. Now these are really quiet samples for some reason, so I'm just going to bump up the volume of each of them. And first let's get like just a swing groove in with the closed hat. So let's just copy that, duplicate it. So I'm working on the 16ths here. You don't want to be working in any like higher resolution than that. 16ths is good to get some of that swing, but it's quite robotic. So we need to add a groove clip. And this again is like a classic disclosure type sound to give it that garagey or housey swing. So I'm going to use 16ths. I'm going to drag that on. So you can hear now it's off the grid. There's a bit of shuffle going on. So let's build out these drums super quick. No edits. We haven't got time. Let's do it fast. All right, shakers. Get a shaker. That's pretty cool, nice and easy. Really important to keep lots of samples that you know and keep organized. It just makes working so much more quick. Here we go. Cool. Okay, on to the next drum. What have we got on my magic list today? We need to name this bad boy. What shall we name it? We're going to name this Disclosure. I'm going to call it Exposure. I know I've already called one Exposure. No, I haven't. Exposure, that's what we're going to call it. Okay, let's carry on. We can actually add a bit of the reverb to that shaker as well, if you want. Okay, let's get some more hats in. Next thing is an open hat. So I'm going to use a 909 hat for this as well. Just layering up those drums, making them sound really rich. It's this attention to detail that's going to make your music sound more expensive and less kind of, weak and amateur-y. So let's go drum hits, hats open, 909 hat. That's pretty dirty sample, that. But that's all right. That's how we're going to do it today. Take the release right down. Let's do it quick, quick, quick. And I'm going to make this quite quiet in the mix because we're going to add a shuffle loop as well. Oh, skip snare, that's right. So when you've got a house beat like this, it's nice to have a little bit of a skip snare every now and again, just to keep that groove going. So let's just find a random snare. You know, it's going to be so quiet in the mix, it doesn't matter. That one will do. It doesn't matter too much what the sound is because it's going to be so quiet. Let's try it here. And you can see I'm working on the 16ths again. And then the last one, I'm going to have an open hat as well. And we're going to use the 808 open hat that we got earlier. Nice and quiet though. But we need to get these drums sounding fat. So I'm going to be grouping them together and doing some bus processing. But first, I want to get that shuffle loop just to give the whole thing a bit more grit and a bit more, character. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to listen through to some of the drum loops I've already got saved on my hard drive and preview them alongside the tune as it plays, just to find the one that's got the rhythm I like and the texture of the sound. Texture is more important because you can change the rhythm afterwards. Like that. Okay, what's that one? Let's take that. And I'm just going to slice a bit of it and take some of the... Okay, let's just duplicate that. And this is from the Vengeance, one of the old Vengeance packs. So you can hear it's already bringing just an extra layer to the drums. We don't need all the high end, we don't need all the low end, so we can filter a lot of it. Cool. So now, yeah, that's what we're going to stick with at the moment. Let's group them all together and do some bus processing just to fatten it all up. I'm actually going to add some processing on this beforehand using the drum bus before the EQ, so I'm taking out the low end afterwards. So you can hear it's just fattening it up a bit. And now we're going to add some sidechain pump to that with a sidechain compressor. I'm just going to use a standard compressor, open up this little button here, and then press sidechain and then choose your audio input. Now, if you've watched this channel before, you know I like to use a separate sidechain trigger instead of the kick drum, because you can see here I'm using a much shorter sample. It's just actually a tick, and you never hear it because in the routing I've selected sends only. So we're just using it to duck those signals that we want to be sidechain compressed. So let's choose that input from here. And now listen to this drum loop. So this is where it was. Just to help it bounce a little bit. I'm going to turn these drums down, mix them in a bit. So this open hat, this one here, I'm going to take out some of the low frequencies because it's a bit of a dirty sample. That's better. Okay, cool. Now let's process these together. So what I'm going to do is just select them and press group. And now all of these are going to be compressed together. They're also going to be saturated, which is going to just give it more of a cohesive feel overall. So let's just whack this on. I've got no idea what this track's going to turn out like, by the way, guys. Let's just see though. So already this is off and this is on. So everything's being slightly compressed and squashed together. Next thing we're going to do is add a glue compressor just to compress it all together a little bit more. I'm leaving 30 milliseconds, or is it 30 milliseconds? Yeah, 30 milliseconds on the attack, and that allows the transient of the kick to pop through. Probably compress it to about 3 or 4 dB and then bump up the makeup. So that was before compression. So if you listen to the overall group processing, this is where our drums were, and this is where they are now. Like a bit grittier, a bit dirtier, but just sounding more polished and more cohesive. Now we need a bass line. We need to fully bass this bad boy up. I know that I'm going a bit slower today, but I wanted to show you every stage of the process. Let me know if you're enjoying it so far. Give me a hell yeah or an amen, brother, below this video, so it knows, so I know that you're digging it. And yeah, let's build this bass line out from scratch. Now I'm going to build a triple layered bass line. The reason I'm going to do that is because in my masterclass call yesterday, one of my students was asking me about how to get stereo width in bass without it going all muddy and running into phase issues. So that's why I'm going to show you this example today. So let's just get a random bass sample. I like to use samples for bass sometimes because it just gives it a bit more of a gritty like feel. So here, we're just going to use this. Voices 1, because we don't want more than one bass note playing at a time. And I don't have a keyboard today, so I'm just going to kind of do this in the piano roll editor. Let's turn it down a bit, make sure we don't get clipping. Now I'm doing a kind of skippy bass line as well to match the vibe of the track, super important. Now I'm doing this in A minor, it's the easiest one to do it, the easiest key to do it in. So what you can do in Ableton Live 11 is you can just choose from here, scale, and then you can choose the key. So in this case it would be A minor, natural. And press scale, and now it's only going to be showing the notes from within that key. And it's just a white note, so it's the easiest key to write in. Anyway, let's finish writing this tune, this bass line. Cool. Now we are going to shape this bass and just make it sound how we want, because at the moment it's a bit too stoppy-starty. So let's warm it up a bit. First thing we're going to do is we're going to apply a little bit of, I've got a really interesting thing I could show you actually. Let's turn off the drums for the time being, apart from the kick. Turn it down so it doesn't distract us too much. Okay, so first let's shape the ADSR shape of this bass. I'm going to take off the velocity to volume thing, because I don't want the velocity to change the volume. And this is why, because we're going to apply velocity to the filter. And this is to randomize it a bit. Just to add, and this is another kind of disclosure tip as well, it's to add more movement and randomization to your sound so it doesn't sound so static, doesn't sound so boring. So I'm going to select all the bass line, randomize it. I'm going to turn this down a little bit so it doesn't randomize too much. And if we look at the velocity here and press randomize, you can see it's now randomizing it here. So now let's see what effect that has when we've assigned this velocity to the filter. And then you can tweak them manually as well, the velocity, if it's not quite where you want. Whoops, try it again. So you can hear it's kind of opening up and closing down the filter. And that just adds more movement. Okay, so next we're going to go on to creating a sub-bass layer. And that's because we want this layer to be nice and stereo, as it kind of is already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this twice. Once, twice, and the middle one I'm going to call saw bass, and the bottom one I'm going to call sub bass. So let's do the sub bass first. So with this main bass, we're just going to take out everything under about 120 Hertz. And then for the sub bass, we're going to just keep everything below 120 Hertz. But instead of using the sampler, I think we're going to use an operator synth. And we're going to just use a nice, plain, boring sine wave. We need to turn it down a couple of octaves though. But at the moment, the velocity again is assigned to the volume, and because we've got all these different velocity controls here, well, what you could do is just grab them all and hold Command and put them all up to maximum velocity, and just turn down the volume a bit. And then it's a nice even volume for the sub bass. And now we've got separate control over the mid bass and the sub bass. And if you keep the sub bass nice and mono, the mid bass, everything over about 120, 130 Hertz, you can kind of push pretty wide and get a lovely wide bass sound without running into phase issues. So for the saw bass, I'm going to go and get another operator. But I'm going to select, I'll put an EQ after it, take out everything Well, let's see where we need to take it out. And I'm going to choose a saw wave here to give it that kind of crispier, harsher sound. Too high though, way too high. That's a square wave, whoops. That's better. So let's just take that down a couple of octaves. Again, we'll just put all of the velocities up to max on this one. And this is just to give a little bit of crispness in the high end. Just a bit more texture. So now with the drums as well, we'll put those back to -2 or something. Now for the bass, I'm going to group it all together. Call it bass, like so. I'm trying to work as quickly as I can here, guys. And we need to duck that bass when the kick's playing. Just slightly, you know, not super over the top. Like that, too much. Just helps it bounce a bit, which is going to help with the kick gelling in with it. But let's put a bit of this drum bus. I love this drum bus, man. It's great. It's like a compressor, a saturator, a bit crusher all in one. And you can just throw it on. We'll turn down the output so our A/B test is nice and fair, because if it's just increasing the volume, it often kids you into thinking that it just sounds better when really it's just louder. So let's try it with drum bus off on our bass and with it on. Just thickens it up a little bit, you know. Cool, okay, now we are going to create the stabs. Are we going to create stabs? What does it say? Magic list, say unto me, what should I do to convey disclosure unto thee? We should be making some chords, so let's make some chords. Again, because it's in A minor, it's super easy. You can always change the key afterwards if you want. And yeah, for this, I'm going to use the wavetable and I'm going to create a sound from scratch. But first things first, let's just get in those chords. Again, we want it to be kind of quite skippy and housey, just so it fits the vibe of the track. Let's take that scale thing down, get that out of the way, get out of the way. And now we just start with a sine wave, good old fashioned sine wave. So the easiest thing to do is work out the rhythm of the chords before you start writing in all the notes. It just makes your brain have to think about fewer things at the same time. Now, don't worry, it's going to sound better than this in a sec. And now we need to apply the same swing to basically everything. So all the bass needs to have the same swing as the drums. All the chords need to have the same swing as the drums. So it's going to all fit in to the pocket in the groove. So let's draw in these chords. Again, easiest thing. If you choose the scale thing in Ableton Live 11, you can just press the scale button. If you're using Ableton 10, just draw in all the white notes from A up to A and press fold. And it's going to do the exact same thing. And it just makes a template for you to draw the chords in. And then it's just a case of skipping a note each time. So A, skip a note, skip a note. And then we go up. So that's the first, because it's on the root. The second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, sixth, the seventh. So that's now a seventh chord. Then we can have the 9th as well, and the 11th. And now you've got a lush disclosure style chord, and I'm going to show you how you can make this even better in a sec. But first, let's just copy them over. Like so. And the last chord, I'm going to switch it up and change the chord just to make it more interesting. But first, let me show you this. In fact, no, I'll do that first. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete some of these notes. And then some of them I'm just going to grab and move down an octave. I'll move this one down an octave. So it's just totally changing the order of the notes. Nice, deep. And with everything else. So I'm just adding little kind of shuffly bits in between, using the same notes from within the key, just to add more interest. And let's unscale this so I can just work out what chords to put here. Cool, okay, so now let's get this chord sounding how we want, and then we're going to layer it as well. So at the moment we've just got the standard sine wave, which you could keep totally, but let's add something a bit more, bit high-endy. So what I'm going to do is then go to envelope 2, and this is going to be what's going to control the filter. So if we go to the MIDI matrix, or the matrix, sorry, choose envelope 2 and feed some of that in to the filter. You can hear it's now a bit brassy. Let's turn down the amount fed in. Get the shape how we want. That sounds pretty cool. Let's make it a bit wider, add some unison as well. Nice. Now it's starting to take shape, you know. Anyway, gotta hurry. I can't believe I'm just taking a long time over this today, guys. I'm just enjoying the vibe. It's a few weeks since I've done one of these, and yeah, I'm just feeling the vibe. So let's get another one of these. But what I'm going to do is just change the sound slightly. And what I'm going to do is take some of these notes and take them down an octave. And it's going to change the order of the chord slightly. And therefore the feel of it. So now listen to it. It's almost like different chords. And we're going to change the sound as well. I'm just going to tweak the different shape. That's quite disclosury. I'm liking that. And then so you hear it's just adding. This is without that second layer. Cool. Cooler. And then the last layer I'm going to do is I think I'm going to duplicate that clip actually, and I'm just going to stick to one note, which is going to be the A, and then when it drops down to the G at the end. I'm going to choose a sample for this, just to add some, as I said before, extra grit, another feel of texture to the sound. That's definitely a correct phrase, feel of texture. So let's just find a random sample. Keys and organs. I want something like, yeah, like a Rhodes organ. That sounds pretty cool. Let's listen to that. It just adds some extra, let's listen to them. All extra texture, as I said. Might be the wrong sound. Bit of bass. Let's try a different sound. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so let's group those together into a bus and call those chords. And again, we're going to add some of that lovely organic, rich feel to them, like Disclosure. And the way we're going to do that is, well, first we want to do some EQ, because all of these things are going to end up in too much low end. So first, let's EQ the organ low. And this one, that's nice. I really like this layer. We don't want the organs fighting with the bass though. So we'll take everything under about 100. And then this is how we're going to spice this bad boy up. Let's put a drum bus on there, on the chords bus. Already fatter. That's just what adds that organic feel, just having an array of like saturation. It doesn't have to be like a big effect. It can be very slight and it just adds more richness to it. And I've just copied, I'm going to copy and paste the sidechain compressor as well. So these chords are ducking slightly to the kick. I actually don't want that last layer. I'm going to leave that one on. Okay, now let's make this sound really big, really interesting. And the way we're going to do that is add 2 return channels. One I'm going to call chords delay, and the other I'm going to call chords reverb and reverb. Let's just add these to give it some more size, more width, everything. So chords delay first. I'm going to get a echo, great little plugin. Again, that comes with Ableton Live, the Suite version, I think. 100% wet because it's on an aux channel, and let's change the timing and just feed some of this in, some of these chords in. And then a bit of reverb as well. Now to make this really pop, I'm going to add a compressor after that reverb on the auxiliary channel. If this is a bit kind kind of advanced for some people, then you can check out my Ultimate EDM Mixing course. It kind of explains all this stuff. But in the meantime, let's just bring in this dry signal, and we're going to duck that reverb very slightly to allow the dry signal to pop through the mix a little bit more. We could do that on the delay as well. Now with these chords all put together into one group, we can then do some cool stuff like have the EQ at the end. But you can also add then auto filter. So you can do these like disclosures, housey type deep chord automations. Although with this happening, we probably want that before the compressor. So I've also got a bass reverb as well, which can add a little bit more character. Again, it's on the auxiliary channel. Right, but let's get some extra bits, some detail in this track. So I'm going to add some loopy sounds too. That's kind of a disclosure trick as well. And I'm going to do this again with a sampler because, you've just got different techniques available to you if you're using a sampler instead of a synth. So let's just grab a random synth sample. Doesn't have to be that's it. And that's just tweak this using some pitch envelopes and some other stuff. In fact, I'll have to convert that to a sampler rather than a simpler, because then you've got this pitch envelope control. But I'm just gonna, again, program in a couple of interesting bits just to interplay with the rhythm. Just jamming on this. And it's important to make sure that it's not just completely repeating one bar. You know, after 4 bars, usually there'd be something happening at the end of that just to let you know that it's the end of that section going into the loop again. So now let's play with this pitch envelope, and this is going to change the pitch due to the shape of this envelope. So let's do it 12 semitones, and that means it's just going to be tweaked to a whole octave, so it's not going to sound too weird. Take it down an octave. So it's a bit more of a kind of bloopy sound. Cool. Okay, so now we're going to add some more movement on the auxiliary channel as well. So if we go to the chords, and we're going to get onto arrangement really soon, and a bit of mastering as well. So just to make this move a bit more, keep the ears interested, I'm going to add some auto pan on this reverb for the chord stabs. Just so it goes pans left and right. So that's off. And this is on. Just panning left. And let's add a little bit of vocals as well, and then we'll get onto the arrangement, I promise. Again, let me know if you're enjoying this below, guys. Give me a hell yeah or an amen, brother, if you're feeling holy. And without further ado, let's get this vocal in. Splice is offline. Oh, my internet's down. Okay. 'Cause I love you. Right, so what we're going to do is just search for vocal. And we work in A minor, so we can just go vocal, A minor. I've already got some on my hard drive, so and that one will do. That's like an atmospheric. It's from a Future Bass pack, but it's perfect for this genre, really, because it's so airy and just in the background. I'm going to add some room reverb to this bloop as well. Cool, so now we've got a groove going that sounds pretty sweet. So now we can kind of start working this into an arrangement. I'll just colour this purple, natural colour of vocals. I might get another vocal in there, but we'll wait for that in a sec. Let's just add some mastering as well, and then we're going to do this. I'm going to add some glue compression to gel it together again. Pretty cool. Let's see what's going on with the EQ curve. Pretty good. Let's take out a little bit of this. Clear up the mix a tiny bit. And a little boost beforehand. So that's where we were. I mean, it's not really the right time to be doing mastering anyway, and then I put a limiter on there. But let's get some blimming arrangement on the go. Let's get some ruddy arrangement on the go. So what I'm going to do is show you a couple of possible transition techniques as well. So, obviously the track would start off, we wouldn't have all those drums coming in or the bass in. That would be worked into. So let's take out some of these drums beforehand, like so. Let's take out. You know, you might start something like this. And work up to this full loop. So whether we could do that is just take out some of these drums, maybe bring those in here when the bass starts. Take those open hats out as well. And then when you get to that first break, you probably just start with those chords really down low and just introduce them. People are like, "Ooh, what's that? What's that?" I'll tell you what it is. It's some chords. I'd actually take the sidechain trigger off as well, because you don't really want it all bouncing when it's in the break. It sounds a little bit weird. Let's automate this up. Perhaps I'll have that after the drum bus, otherwise the saturation in the drum bus is saturating that transient peak and making it sound really quite harsh. No. Let's have our build. You might even have a nice vocal here as well. You definitely have some more stuff going on in the background. More movement, a couple of effects.
I don't know, I take the weight on my... I've got to have your love, gotta make it. Don't waste my time. It's like what I do. One more.
Oh yeah, that's a good sample for this genre of music.
I put my...
Yeah, cool. Okay, let's see what we like. We're almost done, guys. I'm just, riffing. But we need, again, we can add more movement to this as it builds up to the break. So I'm going to show you something quite advanced here. I mean, with the chords, you could, have the feedback increase, building up to that drop, like so, to a ridiculous degree. So you can hear all these little things that add to the tension. You could even take the effect off on the drop to have it fully reverbed out, all lush, and then when you get down to the drop like so, just take off the. I will have a bit of delay, but take off the reverb, for instance. And this is what's going to allow you to have interest throughout the track, with relatively few elements. You might even have the reverb decay time higher. Okay, got a cool idea. So let's get those drums here. First we need to... Whoops, I took the hat out, didn't I? Nice one, mate. So yeah, let's get these drums over here as well. Just copy this one, drag it over. Where are the drums going to start coming in? Here, for instance. Yeah, cool. So where we've got that big delay, we're going to have like a little extra break there. Okay. You have to be careful of that if you're doing big reverbs, big feedbacks. You need to make sure that you rein that in, otherwise it's going to blow your brain. And then you could have the drop there. So let's have that higher and let's make it really big with some reverb. Dun, 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 and then you hit the drop there. So that would be coming in here with that sidechain compressor, of course. You know, maybe this break here should be half as long, that higher bit. And then let's stick that there and see what we got. Yeah, okay, so we're going to have like a drum intro there. And I'm going to do it with just the drums that we've already got because time is running out. And I've already spent long enough on this. Here we go. And here we bring in the open hat as well. So then we're full guns blazing, everything in. Yeah, let's just check it out. I'm going to take out some of those high frequencies from the vocal as well. A bit harsh. See what I mean about too high? Cool, okay, so I'm going to do a bit more work on this before I upload it for you to download, but I hope you found some useful tips and tricks today, and once again, thanks for watching. I've probably already recorded an extra for this video anyway, so I'll probably switch to that roundabout. So there you have it, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I enjoyed it so much I even changed my t-shirt. Fancy that, eh? As I said, if you did enjoy it, please consider subscribing to the channel. Smash that like button because I just love that pretty shade of blue. And if you want to share this with the guys over at Disclosure, tag them in on whatever platform you like to share on, and hopefully they'll watch it, hopefully they'll leave some feedback. And thanks for watching. Until next time, cheers and happy producing.